Hey In2Picklers, I want to continue the pickleball paddle series. What we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about swing weight, a really important concept when it comes to picking a paddle. Also understanding how the paddle can be impacting your arm, the torque that the paddle will have on your arm. Really important stuff. We're going to get into that today, so let's get into it. If you're looking for a paddle, we have an assortment of paddles on our store. The paddles on our store are paddles that we can stand behind, paddles that we are familiar with or have played with or tested. And they're paddles that we are comfortable presenting to you as options for you to play with. I'll link above and below to our paddle guide and our paddle test. Take a look at those and it'll give you some better ideas as to what paddle might be right for you. When you're looking at a paddle, you're looking at a combination of the weight of the paddle, that's gross weight, so basically this is an 8.4 ounce paddle. Then you're combining that with whether the paddle's head heavy and how head heavy is it, and that'll help give you an idea of what type of swing weight should you expect to get from that paddle. When we talk about swing weight, we're not talking about the paddle's weight. You can have two 8-ounce paddles that are obviously the same weight because they're both 8 ounces, but the swing weight of one paddle versus the other paddle is vastly different. And so what we're talking about here is we're talking about the weight of the paddle as you swing it. That's why it's called swing weight. The way I think about swing weight is basically, how much weight does the racket exert, or the paddle in this case exert, as it's moving through the air. So there's two sides of that weight, if you will. One is obviously the heavier paddle is in terms of swing weight. So the heavier the outside of the paddle is, or the edge of the paddle is as it hits the ball, the more power it'll impart onto that ball and send it farther. You'll be able to smash balls harder and things like that. You'll also lose a little bit of control. The flip side is that the amount of swing weight, or the higher the swing weight, the more torque you're going to feel on in your hand, your wrist, your arm, your forearm, and your elbow from using that paddle. When we play pickleball for 2, 3, sometimes even 4 hours at a time. And so being out there with a paddle that is head heavy or has a lot of swing weight can tire your arm out and can also potentially cause some injuries from overuse. It might help to think about it this way. So a heavy swing weight item would be something like a hammer, or let's take like one of those small sledgehammers. So if you were going on a court with a small sledgehammer and were swinging that thing around for about 3 hours, you definitely would feel it in your arm. Now, if you hit anything with that hammer, you would obliterate it, but it'd be really hard to get that hammer around while you're playing, and also it would tire your arm out. On the other side, if let's say you went out there with like something real light, like a feather or something like that in your hand, you could swing that thing around for 10 hours, not even feel it in your arm. Obviously, it won't be able to do anything with the ball. It doesn't have enough mass to do anything to the ball. But that gives you an idea of how a really light item like a feather or a pencil or something like that would be super easy on your arm, but not do enough to the ball. Whereas another item like a small sledgehammer or something heavy like that would be amazing if you hit the ball with it, or you could crush the ball with it, but it would be tremendously detrimental to your arm to do that for 2 or 3 hours. Swing weight affects each of us differently. So some of us are able to handle more weight or be able to carry more weight for a longer period of time because of our body size or our body type. Others of us won't be able to do so. So as an example, I like this paddle, the Onix Evoke Pro. I think it's a really good control paddle. So if there's a player that needs extra control in their game, needs a little more touch, a little more finesse in their game, they have plenty of power anyway, they don't need any more power, I recommend this paddle. But I generally only recommend this paddle if you're able to basically use weight or hold weight or move weight around for an extended period of time. So you have to have the mass in your muscles to be able to carry this paddle, because this paddle, when you swing it around, you can feel it being somewhat head heavy. On the other side is a paddle like this. I think this paddle too, the Engage Encore, the old school Engage Encore paddle, the base one, is a really good paddle. It's an excellent all-around paddle. This paddle though, compared to the Evoke Pro, is a little more head neutral, a little more weight neutral. It's also lighter at gross weight, but it just doesn't have the same kind of feel when you swing it around. It doesn't tire your arm as much as the Evoke Pro would. And again, while the Evoke Pro is a really good paddle and I highly recommend it for control play, it's a really good paddle for a certain type of player. Understanding the difference in the swing weight between these two paddles can make the difference between deciding whether you're going to buy a paddle like this or a paddle like this, and which paddle is right for you. One way to think about swing weight that sometimes helps is to basically take the paddle in your hand, kind of loosely, loosen your arm up, and then just swing it back and forth. Just kind of swing it back and forth like this, and then ask yourself whether it feels like you're dragging it through water or whether it feels like you're dragging something on the end of it. So if you're dragging it, if you're swinging it back and forth, and it feels like there's some resistance, like you're dragging it through water when you're doing that, that's probably a head heavy paddle. If when you swing it back and forth you don't feel resistance when you're doing that, then you're dealing most likely with a head neutral paddle. Let's say you wanted to focus more on singles play, so you wanted to play more singles. Normally for singles play, you're going to want a heavier paddle and a paddle that's a little head heavier because you want a paddle that can basically drive through that ball and really push that ball deep and give you some good power on your shots. If you're playing doubles, on the other hand, you're probably going to want to favor a paddle that's a little bit less on the head heaviness, and that'll make it a little less on swing weight and also a little more maneuverable, which is what you want. You want a paddle that you can move around quickly at the net, that you can get into position and dink or lob or whatever your strategy is. You're not really looking for a paddle that'll generate a lot of power. That's one of the reasons why at the end of the day, swing weight is actually way more important than gross paddle weight when deciding on a paddle for you. Be on the lookout for more paddle videos from In2Pickle. Also visit our website, In2Pickle.com, for paddle guides and other paddle information. At the end of the day, our objective is to help you find the right paddle for you. Good luck out there.